The ATG split squat is a great exercise to improve mobility and strength in the ankle, knees, and hips, but can still cause issues in the knees for some of my athletes. And even when regressing or unloading the pattern, it can still be a source of pain, and I can't get them past that. But it's not because it's a movement or pattern problem, it's because it's a joint capsular issue that we need to address first. And yes, this is a beer cooler.
The knee joint being our largest hinge joint, it is dictated, like most synovial joints, it's going to be dictated and controlled by the capsule. If the capsule is too tight or restricted, which is then essentially just extensions of fascia and connective tissue, if the capsule starts to become too restricted, it can change the mechanics of the joint. Now, in the open patellar chain exercises such as knee extension and leg curls, we can typically get away with a bit of a tighter capsule because the tibia is gliding around a fixed femur, and we can create these accessory movements of rotation around it without it typically causing too much problems. However, when the foot is anchored, as in a lunge or a squat, the femur now has to roll around a fixed tibia. So it creates this kind of a posterior glide. But if there's not enough space, if the capsule is a little bit restricted on the knee, this femur can roll too far backwards, pulling on the patella and essentially slamming into the front of the knee as we get into deeper lunge and squat positions. If we have a band pulling and anchoring that tibia forward, we're essentially creating a little bit more space on the front here for the femur to roll around on top of the tibia to help prevent some of that knee pain that we might be getting in that deep lunge position. Thank you, Mr. Burns.
We can modify this by simply wrapping a band around the front of the knee. And what this is doing, this is improving the mechanics of the knee joint. So you're getting a little bit of a stretch or gapping on the interior knee, creating more space for that patella, for that kneecap to glide around. Because oftentimes, if the knee pain's going on the front of the knee here, we're not getting proper joint mechanics. So that band is creating enough gap or enough space for the joint to allow the femur to roll around a little bit more effectively. The other nice thing is, as we get to the top of that split squat, my quad really has to contract through the full range of motion, whereas if the band's not on there, I can get a little bit lazy with that knee extension and just kind of fall into it. But the band forces me to really contract all the way to the top, and then as I get to that kind of weaker zone, you get that variable resistance to reduce the load so it's not so much strain on the knee joint. And the nice thing is you can adapt this to any of your progressions or regressions with the exercise. So now it becomes more of a corrective as opposed to just a strength and mobility exercise. And you're going after maybe the root cause of what's actually causing the knee pain. Because oftentimes when we have joint pain, it might be we just don't have access to the mobility in that joint. Not that it's necessarily a mobility or strength issue in that joint. We just might need to modify it in a way that's more suitable to our clients so they're not trying to squeeze square pegs into round holes.